Give me a couple of seconds here. I'm trying to figure this out again real quick. Well, that's not really what I wanted. All right. This is all still kind of new to me. So bear with me, please, just a little bit, because I want to be able to see the chat. So I think I'm good to go. Oh, can't do that. Okay. Don't know if we're having feedback issues or not. We're probably getting ready to. So, yep, we got to cancel the sound on that one. All right, I think we're good to go now. All right. How many do I have watching right now? One viewer. Well, welcome my one viewer for now. I have trouble setting this all up through Google Hangouts and getting it all out there and showing when everything's ready to go. It becomes difficult, but I'm getting a little bit better. I'm just not that tech savvy at all this. I've got OBS and I need to figure out OBS. I think that would help me a lot. So before we get into my wife, I had her put it under here. The only thing she told me was it reminded her of a perfume bottle. And I think I might know which one of 3 bottles. That says, obviously she's referring to it as the shape of the bottle. And I've got 3 or 4 in my mini collection that are really odd shaped. So it's one of those 3 or 4. It's either going to be an Irish, that Chambord, because that's a pretty little bottle, or a Scotch. A couple of Scotches come in the small, different shaped bottles. I want to get the Dalmore. I put that up. So I don't think she snatched that out of the top. That's the only one I really don't want. I've also got a little sample here that me and Figwig had traded that I've actually never got around to opening, and it's been several months. But I've opened and tried most of them, but this one I haven't. I got actually 2 samples of this. This is the J.P. Wiser's Union 52, I think it is. 4% 52-year-old Scotch Highland Scotch, 45% ABV, Canadian alcohol. So we'll open that and try that. And let's talk about one of the Scout's finds. Last week was a real good week for the Scout. The Scout spent more at one stop than he's ever spent in whiskey buying in his life. He found a very special spot. He's not going to talk about where it's at other than to say it's east of me and it's in Kansas. But when I rolled into the place, it was an accident. I had taken my wife. And we were traveling and we were coming back from our destination. And it was a little town I'd never stopped in before. So I stopped in to check it out. Well, they still have a couple of bottles I'd honestly like to have. But these 3 were the non-pass ups. So I noticed the Macallans, and you always see Macallans, and Macallans always got a high price. But this I had never seen before, the Sheep Dip. I mean, I've seen the newer bottles of Sheep Dip, but I've never seen the older one. And this one's 40%. I believe the new ones are 43%. And this was $27.99. I don't know if you can see the price or not, but it was $27.99. It's pure malt, 8-year-old Scotch whiskey, and this one's only 40%. A very old, it's just an extremely old and interesting looking label on it. So I couldn't pass it up for that price. And I believe this comes out of late 80s, early 90s. I believe so. That's my guess. And that's the most I can really find out about it on there, because it has the original Oldbury name, which was, I think they kept it. Oh, and they were bought out by the one Richard Patterson works for. They bought them out, and then they sold out, and the guy that worked for them took those labels with him, took those labels with him when he left. I think he left in 93 or 90, no, 2005. 93 is when the corporation that Richard Patterson works for bought it, acquired it in a hostile takeover is how they referred to it. So anyway, long story short, that labeling on that bottle, I believe, puts that during that time frame. Now, I also seen a Macallan Fine Oak 15. These are the first two I bought, and they had $79.99. Most places I see it anymore, it's $99.99. So, and they don't make it no more. They've discontinued it. So I thought, well, I'll buy that and that. Then I seen the Macallan 18. And the Macallan 18, they had little prices along the bottom of the shelves. And this is where you guys, when you're out there doing this, you got to pay attention, because he had little sticker prices like this posted underneath each one of these bottles. And the one for this one said $159.99. Now, I thought, I don't know if you can see that or not. I thought that was a mismark because that was on the bottom of the shelf. I'd seen the price on this. I thought, well, maybe it isn't. So I pick the box up. It's the only one they had, because they had two. I'd had to buy Barton Scott one for sure. I know I'd have bought Barton Scott one of these and one of these. They've already done the Macallan 15, so I don't think they'd like to have another one of those. But they only have one of each one of these. I have one more bottle I want for sure, because I've got a bottle of it. It's getting increasingly hard to find. And it's not particularly special in any way, but it's just something I really personally like. And it's that Dewar's Special Reserve. It's really, I reviewed it. You can check out one of my reviews on it, the review I have on it. But anyway, $159. I walk out to the truck because my wife's in the truck. I've done spent $130 for these two, roughly. No, $118 for these two with tax. And I go tell her what I found and what I've seen, because this is a lot of money to spend at one spot for me. Ever. This is the most I've ever spent at one spot for alcohol. So I go out there and I ask her, and I show her on my phone. We look it up. $239, which is about going price for anything around for the Macallan 18. I told her the price. Said, do you mind if I go back and buy? Of course, she said, no, I don't care if you think it's worth it. You know, well, I didn't know much about Macallans at that point. 18s. I just know they're a good buy. It's 18-year-olds. It's a good price. Well, not the new ones, but these back then had a whiskey's distilled on, or a, what's it they call that date? Dang it, I can't think of the name of it now. It escapes me. It has the year it was distilled on and put in barrels. In this case, it's 1989. Well, I didn't even think much about that after I seen it. Called Bart Scott, showed them, 1989 and so on and so forth. And I was thinking, well, it's pretty cool. I get home and start researching it. And that means it was distilled. That means it was barreled in 2007. After it was barreled in 2007, came over here at some time. This is the first year they used the glossy box. This is the first year they started bottling it without the Paxarad in it. And you'll have to look that up if you want to know more about that, because I had to figure that out, the Whiskey Hunter. And he helped me kind of explore that a little bit. So a lot of kudos to the Whiskey Hunter on that. he helped me understand the Macallan 18 a little better than I did. The Macallan Fine Oak 15 is a triple wood. This one I'll open. I don't know about the Macallan 18. I'm sure I will, but it's going to take a special day. My daughter graduates this year, but I've already got a bottle lined up for that. So maybe when my daughter gets married, that 18 will be open then. But it turns out to be a pretty special bottle. I got really lucky. It's a pretty good find. Those are the fun finds. Now I'm not going to be able to buy another bottle of whiskey. Thank God I got a lot to review, because this put a definite damper in the budget for the next month and a half. All right, let's get back to Mini Monday. All right, we'll save Quig's sample for a little bit. Let's start with this one. This is what my wife picked out for me, and it's the Singleton of Glendullan 12. So she stuck with the Scotch. I was unsure what she brought me. Like I said in the beginning, she said it resembled a medicine bottle, and there are several shapes in there that can resemble medicine bottles, because when I buy these things, marketing gets me. What can I say? So anyway, we'll open it up and give it a spin. I bought 2 of these. They had them at the little liquor store I was at, and these came from Goodland, Kansas. You don't see many single malt minis in Kansas, other than if they take in the Balvenis and they break down the packet and they put them in there, and they're not supposed to do that, but they do it nonetheless. Glenlivets, they'll do the same thing with and take the minis out and line them up. But like something mini like this, you just don't see. It's pretty rare. I've never seen a lot of them. So anyway, some of the minis in there are down on their fill levels. They've just sat for a long time. I got a scratch on my nose. I'm sorry, guys. Apples. Apples out the wazoo. Apples and vanilla. Very fruity. There is some Spirit Drive in it. I imagine this is both colored and chill filtered. Glendullan will be a space side. I don't know if it's part of the Glenfiddich or Glenlivet. I'm not sure. I know it's a space side, and I think it's closest to the Glenlivet, not the Glenfiddich. But don't quote me on that. It's a Dufftown product. It's a Diageo Dufftown. Mostly from the Glendullan distillery, most of that stuff's going into blends. It's not really getting malted for single malt. They make a 12, 15, and a 18-year-old. For the American market, they'll all be Glendullan. For the Asian market, they have a different distillery. I can't remember which one it is. They use like 3 different distilleries, and each one's for a different part of the market in the world. That much I do know. But the Glendullan's all I've ever seen in the United States. I'm sure you could have seen some others, maybe in other states, but in Kansas, and this is all I've ever seen. Still pears. Apples. Get pears and apples confused. Duh. Apples. Still that fruitiness. Still that vanilla. A little spiciness, a little Spirit Drive. Spiciness, nondescript. I really can't put my finger on it. It's just a little spicy tingle there. Whatever it is, it's faint. Mostly it's fruity. But the vanilla does come through on it quite well. You get the fruits up front on top of the nose, on top of the tongue, and the vanilla. But it finishes with a maltiness. There's a definite grassy maltiness in the finish. Finish is done, short, not very lasting. No spiciness at all. Well, maybe a slight spiciness in the palate. Nothing really to shake a stick at per se, but it's not bad. It's just kind of bland. First one I've ever had of it, so I can't really give it a score. I'm not going to be with it enough to give it a real score. And give it a letter grade. I'll give it a C. That's not bad. It's just not on initial taste. And you got to remember, this is initial taste. Things develop over time, and that's where these little 50s, they can help you out to tell you if you're going to be interested. It can develop into something better, or sometimes they never do as they oxidize. All depends on what you got going on. Anyway, it's a cute little mini. I don't know how well y'all can see it. There we go. But it's a cute little mini. All right, let's put that aside. Let's rinse out. Let's open the Food Quig sample. J.P. Weiser's Union. This is pretty, I think if I remember what he told me, this is pretty rare stuff. It's hard to get, hard to come by, whole 9 yards. So I've opened all the ones except both samples of this one and both samples of the Port Charlotte. Everything else, I've opened at least one of them. So this will be brand new to everybody here, me included. Literally gives you about a half an ounce in that dram. Let's wash that Glendullen out a little better because I still get a little of the maltiness. Way back on the sides of the tongue. Here we go. This is different. Union 52, 4% 52-year-old Scotch Highlands. Doesn't say which one. And it's a Canadian blend, and it's 45% ABV. Okay, now this, usually when I drink a Canadian, there's like a Canadian, a distinct flavor I get with Canadian whiskeys. It's almost, how do I want to say it? It's almost like you can taste how they blended the living crap out of them. And I don't know how else to describe that, because it's like you got such a mishmash going on, but it always yields, especially with, I noticed it with the base Canadian Club, the base Canadian Mist, the base Lord Calvert, the base Seagrams, all those I had. The Seagrams I've tried lately. Most all the rest of those I haven't had for years, but I can remember that flavor, and always you just want to mix with either 7-Up or they're all mixers. This does not have that. And you can actually detect the Scotch in here. You can actually get that barley. It's just, it's in the nose. You can get that old wood sort of. It's got a spiciness, leather, black pepper. That's got a good, a very good smell. A little bit of overripe fruit, like it's sitting on your counter. It's not spoiled, but it's you're starting to smell it throughout the kitchen. It's not got to the spoiled range where it's starting to reek or be rank, It's just that overripe fruit smell that when it sits on your counter a little long. So it's not unpleasant. Almost bananas. Yeah, I'd say bananas in this case. And there's vanilla, but it's an old, rich vanilla. Just like you got a vanilla cake you've added way too much vanilla to. There's a little honey in there. It's got a wide range of smells in this. As you toss it around the glass a little bit, different parts of the nose, different flavors, different scents. Oh, it's good stuff. Definitely. Oh, Lord. Them some heavy legs. Being Canadian, you can't tell nothing about the color. You don't make decisions based on color with Canadians because they can add all kinds of fun stuff. Not saying Wiser's does. I just don't know who does, who doesn't, and I'm not going to comment and make judgments based on it. But I can tell you by the thickness of this, it is very oily. And I do mean very oily. Those little raisins now. Leather, honey, raisins, vanilla. All right, let's hit the palate, see what we think. It really, okay, there is a heat component to this, but it's not a bitter, sharp heat like you get off a young spirit. There is a heat, more of a heat than I would have thought you would have got with it. But it dissipates as soon as it hits the tongue. It literally dissipates when it hits the tongue. This is very oily, very rich in your mouth, very creamy. It coats everything. I wonder what the age of the Canadian whiskeys are in it. Because I know 4% of a Highland can't change the complexity that much. There has to be, the J.P. Wiser's has to have some old whiskey of their own in there. Oh. It finishes with butterscotch. Oh, my. All the, I'm sitting here talking, and I'm not thinking about what I just tasted other than the mouthfeel was awesome. Then as I'm talking and I'm describing to you the age, that we're talking about the age, the back of that mouthfeel is awesome. Hey, Malted, what's up? Malted, I'm trying this J.P. Wiser's Union 52 that Food Quiggin sent me. It's 4%, 52-year-old Scotch Highland. And I don't know about the Canadian, how old the Canadian is, but it tastes like it's much older. It's a 45% ABV. But there is butterscotch. This has got a good long finish, finishes with butterscotch. Let's get back to the front of the tongue. Leather. It's got that leather taste. It's still just a little bit spicy on the tongue. Black pepper, cinnamon, vanilla, and that honey. I mean, that's really good. This is really good stuff. Don't get the raisins no more. No dark fruits. But older light fruits, older, like I discussed previously in the nose, it's got that slightly overripe fruit smell you get in your kitchen. And that even translates, if you're eating a pear and it's not quite spoiled yet, but it's what you might call maximum ripeness. I mean, it's just not to the point of turning, but you can tell another day, and you're going to have to cut spots off or throw it away or whatever. The banana I got on the smell, I don't get on the palate. But old pear, maybe. It's a light fruit, though. It's pretty good stuff. It's real good stuff. He sent me 2 of these little bottles. I think they hold about a ½ ounce each. Most of them, like I said, I'd opened, but this one I hadn't. Well, Mr. Quigg, I thank you very much for this sample. This is really good stuff. I'll probably never, ever see it again. But it's really good. OJ for Hire's in here. Nice to see you. Clean my palate a little bit. Now I want to try this. But I don't want to open it yet. Now, this is an A. This is, if I could find it, I would definitely buy it. J.P. Weiser's Union 52. I think Quigg said you can't even find it up there no more. It is. It really is tasty. It is really good. I have no idea of price point on it. I have no, and I'm not a big Canadian whiskey guy. I mean, the majority of what I get is mixing stuff. But this stuff that Quigg sent me, it's all been good stuff. It's not mixing stuff. It don't have that Canadian, you get the Jim Beam Funk, where it's really the yeast they use yields a certain flavor profile. A lot of Canadians, I don't know if it's the over-blended funk or what they do, and I know that's meant for mixers, but they all have that certain flavor you get. These do not. So anybody that says all Canadian whiskeys are the same, no, they are not. They are not by a long shot. Now I want to try the Confederation Oak. This is better on the longer it sits in the glass. Let's try a little water. Just a dab. That's too much. I probably watered it down too much. We'll see what happens. Might as well experiment. It's part of the life. Enjoying it. Never know. Oh, it just watered it down. You lose a lot of the sense and everything. Yeah. Canadian Club wouldn't. You're right, OJ. That's definitely made for mixing. Not this one. In fact, I have a bottle of that Seagram 7. I did a thing with it, comparing it to all the other Seagrams. The Seagram's VO 8-year-old. I literally just finished that bottle a week ago. I got the empty bottle. I just threw away today. I went through my empty bottles and started tossing them. It was great with 7-Up. That's what I used it for. 7-Up and Mountain Dew Code Red. That's how I had to get rid of it, because I wouldn't drink it otherwise any other way. And that was an 8-year-old. It just was not. It was just too neutral, too much of a neutral whiskey flavor. I don't care if it's too rich or too spicy or too fruity. Bring something to the plate that is just not so down the middle that you lose the flavor of it. But this J.P. Weiser's here. This is pretty good. Mm. Actually, water turned it into butterscotch. That butterscotch I got on the tail end of the finish, that water brings it right back around. It turns into a butterscotch bomb. Put too much water in it. Okay, there's no more left in there. All right. Oh, I was doing the Glendullen earlier. I don't know if you was here for that or not. Glendullen 12. That was my mini for Mini Monday. My wife picked it out, put it on here. She had to go to a board meeting, so I had her pick it out, put that, or cut the top off of that, put that on there before she left, so wouldn't know what it is. It's always funner that way. I was just hoping she hadn't picked up that jalapeno whiskey. I'm going to have to try that, but really not looking forward to it. And maybe better than I think. I don't know. This Glendullen's not bad. It's just really lightly one directional. I don't think I said what the ABV on it was. I can't see. That's mini dang small. 40% ABV. 12 years. Traditional. What does it say? Traditional small batch distilled. Stamped across it and diagonally. I don't know if you can see that or not either. Maybe hold it up there and let it. It's just a little bit of faint writing across it. Anyway. Did you see me talk about my Macallans, OJ, that I found? When I started this off, I talked about my finds for this last week. I don't know if you guys caught it or not. But I spent the most I'd ever spent at any one time at one liquor store. It all come to something a little over 300 American dollars. But the sheep dip was only $27.99. Had a neat old bottle. Like I said, I think that's out of the early 2000s. I got the Macallan 15 for $79.99. Right now, it's a discontinued, and like I said, it's mostly for, you can't find it for usually anything less than $99 around where I live. Try Caribou Crossing. I'll have to check that out, Whiskey Music. I've never tried it. I've seen it on the shelf, and it's got a cool bottle, and I'm surprised the packaging didn't sell me on it yet, because I like a cool bottle. I'll be the first to lie. This Macallan here has the little seal on it, the little holographic seal for the 15. But the 1989-18 which would have been bottled in 2007, doesn't have the holographic seal on it. The only one he had. It was pretty awesome. I still amazed I found it. But you visit enough liquor stores and you pop your head through enough doors, you find occasional ones. It's like finding that batch 27 of the what was that? The Abuna. Then I seen Scott got one. So next time I see Scott, we're going to have to talk about that. I'm kind of curious. I bet this Glendullen would be good mixed with. I know it's hearsay because it's a single malt Scotch, but it's kind of on a little bit on the bland side. It's not bad. You could drink it. I mean, and it's nothing. You know, it's very even tempered. It doesn't give you any spikes any one way or the other. It's a bit more fruity, but that's the nature of what this is. But let's guess. Wonder when if I can figure out if there's a date on the back. Sometimes these numbers are easy to figure out. Sometimes they're not. That one's not. So it'd be good mixed with seltzer water or something. I bet it would be. That's pretty damn good. Just for basic. It's a good starter because once I went to the JP Weisers and back to it, that adjusted my palate for this, which adjusted my palate back for that. Sounds crazy, but really is much different than I thought it would be. Well, guys, I don't know what else to. Yes, I am on Instagram, but it'll only be Whiskey Scout without the E, just Whiskey Scout. Wait a minute. I get them confused because on Twitter, maybe it's on Whiskey Scout. Instagram, maybe it's I don't got my. Anyway, but yes, I am on Instagram. If you go to go in there and type in the Whiskey Scout, there's going to be one guy who spells it with the EY. There's one, and then there's going to be me, and I just spell it with the Y. I think it's just Whiskey Scout on Instagram. Yeah, go on there. You get to see all my bourbon for breakfast posts and all the fun stuff. I love my bourbon for breakfast. And I talk about these 3 on there as well. I don't care for Twitter too much. I just don't use Twitter. It's just not my thing. It's just Twitter is I don't know. Just don't find it too interesting. We'll just finish off the little 50. Ain't gonna do us no good sitting there. Little blue bottle. That's why my wife said it looked like a medicine bottle. It kind of does. She don't drink, so she picks them out by shape and color. That's her big driver. It's just kind of basically a fruity space side from Dufftown. It's basically all it really is. Not complex, not complicated, but not bad. Sometimes that's the way you want it. What's the best way to talk to you non-public? If you go on to, I think it's on YouTube, and you go, your last choice, when it brings you up to my channel, your last choice discussion or whatever it is, you click on that, it gives you my email address. You can email me at that. If you got a chance, I'll tell you what it is. It's Geoman, because I'm a geologist. GEOMAN 1776 at gmail.com. So you can email me on that if you need to. I check it, try to check at least once a day. That's kind of the email I use for all of this. I don't use it for a lot of other purposes. I got another email account for business that I use. So more for me to enjoy. It's not bad. Trying to figure out what I'll have for dinner tonight. The wife came and gone and said she wanted to make sandwiches. I had salmon and 4 cheese mashed potatoes for lunch. Salmon patty. Dang. Gets a little better the longer it stays open. Still a high C, a low B. Like I said, there's nothing real bad about it, other than the grainy component in the finish. There is a multi-grainy component that kind of it detracts somewhat from the fruity start. If it started with that fruity and that malty and that graininess all together, and then the malty and graininess just lasted throughout, to me, and this is for me, then it would probably be a little higher because you're carrying that forward from beginning to end. But when it transitions hard from one to the other, as this is doing, that kind of detracts a little bit from it. I pick more of the maltiness up in the nose now after it's been in the glass a while and opened a little longer. These minis are fun. That's what this is supposed to be. It's supposed to be fun. So well, guys, I'm probably going to wrap it up here in a few minutes. It's 5:44. My wife should be getting home here in a little bit, and my daughter should be getting home from track practice. So I'll wrap it up. Say salancha, everybody. Everyone have a good evening. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate the comments, and I hope everybody had a good time. And I probably won't do a mini Monday next Monday. I think I've got to work that day. So, because I know everybody thinks, oh, you Kansas people never work on Mondays, but actually I do once in a while. So I'll have to work next Monday, but maybe the Monday after that I should be free and clear. So 2 weeks from now, we'll try to do another mini Monday. So, and I'll try to start at around 5 o'clock. I think that's a good time. Everybody's off work. If anybody stays up late over the pond and want to join us, they can. So, and what day will that be on, actually? Give me just a second. Well, 23rd. So hopefully the 23rd. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off. Everybody have a good afternoon, good rest of your day, and salancha.